Hello, YouTube. I just wanted to make a little update for those who might be patient about what is going on with my video series or series recently about Bernardo Kastrup and a cancerous dissociation. And it's it's like I have been seriously hung up on some business I had to do, and furthermore, it's I need to plug in my. Usually, I forget my power supply, right? Just to make sure. Um, I've been somewhat busy, and I've been doing some things that there was a period when I was doing the just to get into it. Yeah, I'm out of I'm not in the groove, so I had to get back into my usual style. Right? Okay. The Bernardo Kastrup, a cancerous dissociation series I was doing. There's something happened that I had to take care of, and I've sort of put everything else on rest. It's not something disastrous, just an annoying business I had to deal with, right? And it took quite a while, and it has been a little infuriating. And there's some other stuff I'm doing at the same time. I'm working on a book, and I am working on, and this I can lift the lid a little about, but it's to do with my enthusiasm for movies, and in particular the good old ones. Usually, the modern movies usually don't get my juices flowing, right? So, but thankfully, there's still a lot of old movies that will you can go and watch and have a good time, right? One of my favorites. Let me just say, my favorite director of all time is Stanley Kubrick. That at this point, this he's my guy, right? It used to earlier be Alfred Hitchcock. I'm sort of old school, right? But Kubrick is the guy for me, right? The top dog. And I am doing a research on the notorious The Shining, a movie he put out in 1980. You might be aware of. Um, you have probably seen, if you haven't seen the movie, you have seen a lot of particular clips from it and particular scenes and Jack Nicholson and so on, right? It's a notoriously analyzed movie, and I have never been too much into sort of deep dive and analysis of anything. That I like to think about it. I do like to sort of try to dig in and figure out what is the director or the movie makers trying to say or tell a story here. Maybe usually those that are where the story is sort of underneath somehow, right? And if you want to do that, seriously, The Shining is the movie for you, right? So it wasn't until kind of about a year ago, maybe a little less, that I became aware of a. I through the years I've seen a few clips and videos of somebody talking about the moon landing and various shit that is sort of kind of far out. I'm not saying that the idea of the landing being faked is far out, but that Stanley Kubrick is trying to tell a story about the moon landing is far out, right? And these kinds of uh, hints that is present in the movie, obviously, right? And it's like, and there was some point I bumped into a theory that was completely left field. It was, it's one of these kind of paradigm shifts, right? You know, when you discover that you have been seeing things completely the wrong way, you have invested yourself in an interpretation, and then you invest in further interpretation based on that prior interpretation, and so on and so on. Confirmation bias and all that, right? So what I'm doing, I have been doing for quite a long while now, is making an absolutely deep dive into The Shining, and I'm going to present at some point at least some of that analysis. I'm not sure how I'm going to go about it, because I don't just want to bombard the YouTube with a series of these kinds of videos. But on the other hand, I don't know. I'm thinking about how to present it, right? But I can tell you, it is next level analysis. This is going to blow your socks off if you are a Kubrick or particular a Shining fan, because this is next level analysis, in my opinion, right? At least the things I have uncovered or discovered in the movie, which is almost, when I discovered these things, I was like, holy moly, this guy, Stanley Kubrick, he is something else, right? So, with that said, I think I'm going to, at some point, in not the too far future, I'm going to do a Shining video of some kind, or a series of videos, and maybe some videos on YouTube, and maybe some of the videos another place. I don't know. Depends on how I figure out how to do it, right? And then I'm going to get back into the Bernardo Kastrup videos, or deconstruction. Though if you've done something and take a long break, it's hard to get back into the mentality you were in when you did it. So this has happened to me before, that I'm started something and then I get sort of occupied with something else, get away from it for a while, and it's sort of getting back into it. It feels weird sometimes, right? So maybe I'll let it go. Maybe I'll get back in. I don't know. So, but I will leave you with a question, which is actually has something to do with my Shining analysis, and that is this question, right? And maybe if you really want to, you could maybe start to think of metaphysics and Bernardo Kastrup and idealism, and just, if you really want to connect the dots, right? I'm not saying you can't, but, if you're creative. But what I was thinking about was, are memories, there are a few questions here. Are memories in color, or are they sort of just conceptual? I discussed it with my daughter a few days ago, a few weeks ago, and she was convinced that it's actually in color. But I then, scrutinized it a bit and said, yeah, but are you not sure? Are you sure that it's not because when you recall something, you add the colors at the point when you recall it, not because it had color in the memory bank, so to say, when you dragged it out of the memory, right? So if I recall something in my memory, what I recall may not actually have color, but I add the colors because I have a conceptual idea of what it should look like. But then you could turn that around and say, okay, but if I can have memory of a color of an object, a particular object, I can recall the color of my car, or the particular color of the apples in my kitchen, they were this kind of yellowish and reddish, whatever, right? Then I must be able to remember the color. But is that the same memory, the object and the color it has? I'm not sure about it. I'm asking you, what do you think, right? How would you deal with this? Another thing I would like to ask you, and write your answers in the comments, is, when you dream, can you dream about dreaming? I understand there's somebody who talks about lucid dreaming, which, if I understand it correctly, is when you are in a kind of a state where you are sort of halfway conscious of what your mind is doing, and then the mind, to use the term mind, right? Something going on there, some phenomena that the mind gets aware of itself having dreams. But that's not the same as having a dream within a dream, so to say, right? And if I'm having a dream, can a part of the story of that dream be that I'm dreaming? Because how would I know if, because I can't step into that dream, right? Because then I'm outside the other dream that I came from. If I have a dream and then I start to dream within the dream, so to say, I'm dreaming that I'm dreaming. So if I would have to, in order for me to have access to that dream, I would have to dream that dream, so to say, right? Be in the dream. Then I would be outside the first dream. But isn't that the same dream then? It's just, you know, right? So can you step from one dream to another dream? Can you be, or maybe you could ask a question, can you be in more than one dream at a time? I don't think so, right? I'm trying to scrutinize my memory of, I tend to be bad at remembering. Both when I wake up, it's rarely the case that I can remember what I dreamt. Or if I do, it's usually only a little part of it. It's like I remember there was more, but I can't recall what it was. So how would you be able to dream within a dream, unless it's just the sort of thinking about having a dreaming that you're thinking you're having a dream, or dreaming about the concept of dreaming, right? You cannot, I don't think you can have a dream within a dream, so to say, because is that a sort of a dissociation disorder of some kind, right? So, okay, let me have your comments on that. Let me, these couple of questions, let me know what you think. So, have a nice day. See you in the next one.